say, "I munzachoka hapo ngati muchitayi." Immediately you will hear that you've received a letter couriered to you to the UK by your relative to say, Baba, ukulandiano bapoka. How then do you call that justice? How then do you call that justice? And people have got those powers in this country. We faced that same kind of discrepancy in our previous regime, whereas we were in power in PF, where a cadre would be extremely powerful. But you see, that happened because we did not put a sight and look at what the Zambian people did not want. We did not look at what the law provides for. And we gave cadres power. Imagine these colleagues have given these cadres power times 3. That is why we are seeing a cadre would insult to them, and who says close to an insult before midnight by these colleagues. So I think it's extremely important to also understand another fact, that it is extremely important for this government to know that the reason why, I heard the other day the president making a statement that there were titles being issued on top of titles. Now you see, Mr. President, if I may address you on this, if a title is issued on top of another title, it is not the fault of the people that are receiving those titles or buying land. It is the fault of the system that is managing our land administration. If the ministry fails, hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we are here. We can hear you. We are listening attentively because we are all shocked. We are up.
So if,
guys, remember to power tap. We are listening.
So if you find that the ministry has failed to run or to manage the illegalities within, what you do is to enhance. Now what we are doing is to give a solution that is supposed to have been done by this government. Because what we have indicated earlier is that we are providing checks and balances. We are identifying the problems, but we are also providing solutions. Because our colleagues, in as much as they promised, they were giving us what they would do, but they did not tell us how they would do it. But now, as we are telling them to say, this bill, do not engage it because it affects the security of tenure of land. It affects the right of in the ownership of land, because we are giving power to an individual, which is against the principle of natural justice. This individual cannot be given power to decide on his own. The courts were very independent to decide because they were not involved in any way in the issuance of that title. Now, you are the one issuing title, and you want to be the one to also adjudicate and say, Baba, you are erroneously issued you the land and cancelling. No. So that in itself should never be allowed in this country because it goes against the principles of natural justice. It goes against what the courts have even indicated. Imagine just last week, the courts actually guided. Just last week, the courts actually guided in the case of Njumi v. James Banda versus ZDA Henan Bonji Development Company Limited, 2024 HP 046. Now, the High Court in this case guided as to the fact that a person, for example, a person who is not owner of land does not have the authority to convey, to undertake a conveyancing of land. That is the preserve of lawyers and owners of land. Now, the guidance that was given to us by the court simply entails that it will not be a preserve of this individual called an interested party to go and decide to tell the registrar, the chief registrar, say, Baba, I think there was an error here. I'm an interested party, you need to cancel this title. No. That is why the problem of entering a caveat. When you are buying land, what the first thing you do is to enter a caveat so that you ensure that no other person should do anything to the property before you finish paying. The other thing you do is to conduct checks and balances. You conduct what we call legal due diligence. Now, the process of conducting legal due diligence, before buying land, why should you come and fault a person because you as the registrar, you did not do your job to ensure that the person that is acquiring the land has done so following procedures? You can't call it fair. You can't call it fair. Constitutionally speaking, the law provides that we have the right to own property and to the protection of our property. No one can grab land from us except by way of compensation. Now, the aspect I've brought in of compensation and the grabbing of land now goes extremely against what is being proposed by this bill, because you see, this bill has not even provided for compensation to be given. It has not provided for compensation to be given. That simply means that it goes against the provisions of the Constitution. This proposed bill itself is unconstitutional, and this we need to take note of. And the Constitution has provided that in the exercise of eminent domain, as Doc indicated, eminent domain, you can only grab that particular land or exercise eminent domain as president. Compulsory acquisition, as they call it, as president, when you offer someone adequate compensation. Now, in this case, you are giving this power to this individual called registrar, a very junior officer in the lines of government management, a person who is even below a permanent secretary. This person is below the commissioner, the land commissioner. This person is below the minister. But this is the person who, given the right amount of money and enticed to abuse their office, they would actually just go and deal with the sitting minister. So, colleagues in government and in cabinet today, you must not think that you are any safe from this proposed amendment bill. Because remember, the appointing authority is the president. Now, the same constitution has indicated that he who has, or he who wields the power to appoint also wields the power to disappoint. So this is a person who's been given a job and they are scared of losing their job. They can be instructed at will by even a person from State House to say, that title, just cancel it. I'm interested in it.
But
I'm very glad.
But Celestin,
I'm quite.
Just one thing which I was thinking. Since they engaged the private company to survey the resources and the precious stones and the minerals of the whole country, since they engaged that Spanish, I think it's a Spanish private company to do that job, have they issued the outcome of that research? One. Second, according to me, the fact that they have discovered where our precious stones lies, they might use now this proposed bill in order to go and get those pieces of land. So they belong to the ruling government and to the people who are affiliated to the ruling government. What do you think? Thank you.
Yeah, I think, thank you very much for that. I think all speculative issues that may be brought, for me, I would actually say, in my opinion, I would actually say they may be extremely correct. They may be extremely correct. Because, I mean, we had government issuing an instruction or issuing a contract to a private company to conduct a geothermal survey of our minerals. Now, for me, if I were to be president today, I don't think I would allow that to happen, because we must guard our resources the same way that that movie Wakanda, is it Black Panther, was, where they had to guard Wakanda's secret. That is how we're supposed to be guarding our minerals. Now, because we've got individuals, that for me, I don't even believe they are businessmen. I feel they are dealers. Because we've got dealers who don't respect the will of Zambian, they make it to the extent of ensuring that those lands that belong to people are cancelled using this law. Because this law has got potential to cause serious mayhem in this country. And it's got potential to be used as one individual indicated, that to be used as a political bullet. As a political bullet, because you would find that because they've identified, like you say, they've identified that this area has got, is it manganese or sugilite, they will say the title that exists there is going to be cancelled because it was erroneously issued, and an interested party will make an application for the same title. Now remember, when you are dealing with title, you are dealing with state land, yeah? So we've got two different types of land in Zambia. There's traditional land, which is customary land, and state land, which is the one that is titled. Now this one is solely managed by the Ministry of Lands or the state. So you may not need to engage the chief in the acquisition of this land, because it's already on title. Now, I want you to remember also, I think it's extremely important, the Zambian people must open up their eyes and see that we are dealing with individuals that are not honest. You cannot decide to say a person who has issued this title should be the same person to tell you that there was a misrepresentation and therefore I will cancel the land, leaving a very huge possibility that a cadre somewhere, or a person from State House, or a minister who is above this person, or a permanent secretary in charge of employing these people at this cabinet office, will decide to just instruct this registrar to say, the land this side, I want it. This is a danger in all areas, in all spheres. It is going to be a recipe for us creating the most corrupt civil servant in the whole world or in the whole country. Why? Because at some point, this person can even decide to issue titles after having been given something for facilitation, or an amount for facilitation, and thereafter the highest bidder will come and give this person money to cancel the same title. Now, before you know it, this land would have been in court afterwards. But remember, it's already been cancelled. It will have gone to court. The process of court will take time, but you will not have preserved the land, because anything can happen. The land can be surveyed and subdivided in 3 days. These are things that happen in Zambia. So I think, in all honesty, we must be extremely patriotic when we're dealing with such issues. This is a bad law. Today I was following a submission by the farmers, Farmers Union, which indicated also their concerns that, you see, today a farmer who decides to buy a huge portion of land, or perhaps Madam Lillian can decide to buy 3,000 hectares of land in Zambia, on the hope that when she comes back to Zambia, she will come back and become a farmer. Now, you find she's even decided to put up even one house there, a farmhouse. But because the land appears to be a bit dormant, but you will develop it anyway. But someone who is an interested party can decide to go and apply to say this should be cancelled, whether erroneously or whatever that happened, and they'll cancel it. Before she could realize that the land has been cancelled, a development may even occur on the land because it would have been issued to someone else. Even in the UK, a letter will be sent or will be couriered, and she may never even receive that letter. By the time she's coming back after 15 years, she'll find her land is gone. So these are the dangers that we are faced with today. A lot of stakeholders have raised their concerns over the unconstitutional nature of this particular piece of legislation that is being proposed. I only hope that this government will decide to listen to the people, because it is only the people that wield the authority and the power to decide what happens with their resources. Remember, land was God-given to us, and Kaunda in his watershed speech, I don't know if we remember very well the watershed speech, upon which most of these land reforms came from. Kaunda indicated and raised the concern of the fact that individuals cannot decide to speculate land. There was an issue which had transpired on the land, Bank of Zambia, Development Bank of Zambia in town. That land was bought or purchased in the morning, say for argument's sake, at 200 kwacha. In the evening, someone was selling it at 13,000 kwacha. That difference elated Kaunda, and Kaunda was extremely upset and said, no, land is given to us. What value did land acquire in a space of 5 hours for it to be sold at that much? Now, what we are doing today is a scenario where we want to take back authority from a well-orchestrated system of having a court to determine, the differences that will occur between individuals that will differ themselves on land matters. And you want to take this authority to individuals that wield authority today in the executive arm. I think for me, this is the second biggest scam I have seen in this government. The second biggest scam I have seen in this government. Because the first is one that dealt with the giving away of our mines without following procedure. That is taking matters to the National Assembly for approval. But this one, countrymen and women, I think I would implore everyone in this country to raise and sound their voice. For myself, as Celestin Mukandila, I have an inherent duty that goes beyond a duty of selflessness. It goes beyond that because it's an inherent duty posed on me by the oath that I have undertaken to protect and defend the Constitution at all costs. I have said on many platforms that even if it meant doing so with my life, I will do it, because we need to reach a point of being patriotic. We only have one Zambia. And these kinds of legislation have got potential to erode the confidence that we have in governance, and that's the morality. Article 8 of the Constitution of Zambia has provided for those moral values and principles. I think these laws go away from the principles of morality, the principles of patriotism, and just the principles of good governance. I mean, how do you give power into or authority into an individual? Just one individual, a registrar for that matter. And when you look at their state in terms of government grading, they are too junior to a lot of officers to be given such power to decide the fate of a life of a person. Because you see, land is actually life. You can't decide to let life be decided by such one individual who in fact decides to give you. The same person who gives you is the one who decides. I think colleague it's extremely important that we need to voice out. This is a bad law. It is extremely unconstitutional. Government, it's a bit unfortunate, but I think we may have to test the law. Government, of course, has got the power. Is it government or the legislature has got the right to legislate? However, we might have to look. Of course, I'm doing some research with my colleagues. We might have to look at challenging the contents of the bill before it is even placed or enacted, because I believe, and together with my colleagues, we believe that the provisions that are about to be amended goes against provisions of the Constitution that deal, for example, with the issue of the right to land, to ownership of property, and the right not to be deprived of property unless with adequate compensation. So the wording there is adequate compensation. Now, if this individual is going to have the right to cancel your land, your title, without any compensation, I think it goes against the provisions of the spirit of the Constitution. And apart from that, the Constitution also embodies itself in the spirit of what we call the rule of law and natural justice. Now, natural justice, like I indicated in the preamble, demands that someone has to be given to ensure that there is a duty to ensure that matters are decided by someone who is impartial. Now, this person will not be impartial. And therefore, it goes against the principle of natural justice. So because of that, I think it still borders on it being unconstitutional. So I think it's extremely important, Madam Lily, let's encourage every well-meaning Zambian to speak against such provisions of the law. Yeah, they must speak against such provisions of the law because, you see, Zambia should not be ruled by individuals. I think going forward, now I want to turn a bit political because I'm also the National Youth Chairman for Tonse Alliance. I think going forward, Zambia must never be ruled by individuals without tested levels of integrity on them. Because we need to start testing the levels of integrity. Now, integrity means...
Council.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Council, through the chair, Lillian. I have one question to ask Council.
Right.
Council, Namvera submission, that's a very powerful submission over our land. Thank you very much. Mufunika mgwilizana wa Dixon Jail. My lawyers wana interest. Yoseva constitution ya Zambia. Because I can listen to your submission that Zona, you're a true patriot. So my question, Council, is this now. Mamele muna fighting ila Bill 7 Council. Bill 7 inafa. Nifuna funsako. Pali kesi yanu manje wa PF. Kukoti ngati Zambia makoti ya sevenza independent. Chamene chavuta kufaka signature. Otima Osampa ambe kushita participate as a PF president in Chani. That is my question. Because you have to fight this Council. Because in the end, yanu. Maona musalekelele judicial konongeka just because I'm a politician. Because we want muma swearinga to protect the constitution of Zambia. So nifunsa chamene chavuta sheku makoti yamene ali ku Zambia. Oti mfaka kwa signature. Munapeleka mapapers kuja ku court. That mwashita reconcile Omayo Sampa na bonse bali MPF. So pafunga signature. So signature ifunika take mamansi yangati kwenda che kufaka signature nyamla bopen. For how long are we going to wait? So that signature Omayo Sampa inkalep so that at least mambe kupasa ma checks and balances yoko na kuli government ya menelipo. If na kuziwa, for how long does it take? Just to put a signature on the paper. For how long are we supposed to wait? I submit, Council.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I think it's extremely important to understand the kind of leadership we have today. I will submit that every day before I go to bed, I try and introspect as to what we are going through as a country. And I only come up with one conclusion. Every day, I only come up with one conclusion, and that is that we defrauded ourselves in 2021 by electing constitutional delinquents to rule us. Constitutional delinquents because they don't respect the rule of law. I don't believe that it should take more than 3 hours, for example, for a judge to sign an application such as an injunction or an application such as a consent. I don't believe it should take more than 3 hours, because I will go to court, I file in the documents, I wait as a lawyer. I wait, I tell the marshal to the judge that I need to ensure that this document is signed. If it is not signed within 3 hours, I can decide to even tell the judge, the marshal to the judge to say, in fact, even within 15 minutes, I can decide to tell the marshal to the judge to say, I need to see the judge immediately. Because you've got a right. It is your right to have audience before a judge. You can go and see the judge and say, Judge, my lord, my lady, we have made this application and we request that you attend to it. And so I don't believe that it should take as much time as we are seeing today. Unfortunately, the dynamics as to where we are today, and that is one thing that is even exposing our colleagues. I don't believe it should take more than 2 days or more than 3 hours for a consent to be signed, unless there is really a compelling reason, or maybe the judge is just indisposed. But you can still make an application for a real allocation of the matter, so at least your document is signed. But however, I want to encourage everyone that we are law-abiding citizens, and we believe that the right thing must be done. So the issue of the Patriotic Front and the consent that was signed by the parties, I can assure you that a day of reckoning is coming.
Council, so muzaenda pushing a case kwenda further loko bwanji because tipempa manje tipempa because ija political party si anu cheni political party ya Zambians wonse. So tikupempani imo mkaende ku court mkaende mkaona nao bajaji simfunika che mwankala mwapeteka chena mendo mkumwa kofi mwavera ka so imo ngati mwakangwa kuipushinga ja case mfunika mwauze Mazambia na tiveta kangwa kuipushinga case saklani ma political party ya mfunika kuendako because if stinga zembekeza judge akasize kusamba Valentine abwera sign palija document that is not the way it's supposed to be. When my public officers Celestin Mukandila bafunika kuchita ifuna if wene wake waziko wene wake wa constitution wene wake wa land if Stephen kazi vina lumba ya wene wazatufakira po ma judges bafunika kuchita vina tifunga che tafuna te wene wake takuleta ni paper takuiza na wene wake wa family but people problem millions hapa manje tisaini leni hapa so wewe hapa kusaina ma judges that wakasaina bazambo kangwa kumsebenzesa chawinga ni kuwafunza vonse for ma judges because you have all the rights to ask the judges. So ngati mwepa for signature, ngati mwepa for signature, which means Shabinga zanga no use kuli abantu amene ba blocking because iwonekana kuoneka chat pali muntu amene blocking or signature ikaenda chepali cha paper which means Shabinga mwamtondola mangala icho nchinsenga chala lavira ka kuti mukafunzire ko tapapa
but Futi, I want to inform you that of course I'm not in the team that is handling that particular matter, but of course I'm in the legal team for the Patriotic Front. So at least I am aware of the stages that we are at in terms of these issues. Now I want to also encourage you something.
Sorry, Celestina. Sorry, Council. So ile chama nizi wa Council sinizi wa pia mazishita mislead kapena sinizi wa leo ni so that nipunzire because inanizi wa timu lawyer. So ngati kulichinja chama chala kwika kukonga constitution ya Zambia because we are driven by the constitution of Zambia. Simamene council. So munampanvu yenda kuwafunza loko sichikulangana nicho loko simuli mulija ligo team but munampanvu yenda kufunzira mazambian. That's why you're a lawyer. Skuta timu chemfunga chepaka munkaya mulija ligo team nanga mulanya mulabwa nyikani ya bill 7 kwenda kuyimika bill 7. Mnaenda kuyimika cha bill 7 ja dan constitution amendment bill icha munakwenza kwenda kunyamuka. Why? Just because it was for the Zambian people. So na hapa mfunika manje muchitire mazambian musachitire wa PF Bajamene mankana ongat mankana chanda meeting chitirani manje the rest of the PF.
Yeah, thank you very much. And that's why I'm sure you've seen that Mukandila anywhere you will find I'm moving with the motto at Mukandila Nawako 73. Now Mukandila Nawako 73, maybe give me an opportunity to explain what that means. Mukandila Nawako 73 is the motto we call it.
I love that motto, Kanso. I love it. 73.
So Mukandila Nawako 73 is a motto that I coined with you not believe, with Dr. Edgar Lungu. At some point I had proposed to him, we had a very cordial conversation. I proposed to him to say, sir, I'm thinking that I think as we get back, because I have seen the kind of love that you have for the country, and what you did before when you were in power, actually, you took development to all areas of the country without segregation. I feel going back and with how this individual is dividing the country, we should adopt a motto which is going to propose unity of purpose for the country. You need to be reminded of the one Zambia, one nation motto. So we said, I think we'll go by a motto to say, Isi Onavako 73. Now, the boss loved the idea but indicated that, you know what, I love it very much, but I want you to use that motto. I did not understand why or how he decided to discern that I should be the one to run with it. But of course, I started running with it as Mukandila Nawako 73 because for me, I want to put the country first. I want to ensure that as I leave this earth at the point that God will decide to take me, the country will remember me for being one who fought for the rights of individuals in this country. I want to be remembered as one who fought for justice, equity, and equality in this country. I want to be remembered as one who wanted to fight for all Zambians, regardless of tribe, creed, color, or place. So I want to reaffirm my commitment that I shall do everything possible within my rights and power to ensure that justice is brought to play, and also to just ensure that the right thing is done by this regime. If they are going to be irritated by my actions, my court actions, by whatever, because what I will do is I will not stop talking. Whether they like it or not, at some point I will disclose to you that the same way that everyone else is being persuaded to try and block resources that they may have, I equally underwent that. But you see, I won. What to do a terrorist? So, when it comes to fighting for the right thing, we shall do so regardless of the fact that if you want, you will come for me in whichever way. But I've told myself that we'll defend and protect the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia, even if it meant with our lives. That simply means that if this government does anything wrong, or does a thing which I deeply within my heart of hearts, I believe it is wrong, I will speak to it. Now, I want to also encourage you that when we sat and agreed on a lot of things with Dr. Lungu, we agreed that we are dealing with a person who doesn't want to listen, who doesn't want to let go of the patriotic front. So that is why we came up with this vehicle called the Don't Say Alliance. Now, the Don't Say Alliance has got a special purpose vehicle we are using, which is the NCP, the New Congress Party. So we told ourselves to say, okay, if you want to keep that in our PF, let him keep it. But we can always PF is not a political party as a status, no. PF is a movement. PF is a revolutionary movement for the Zambian people. That is why President Sata decided that the Patriotic Front will not be a party that will have cards. Those cards that the UPND prints, no. We are a party for all Zambians, especially the vulnerable in society. We go by the creed, the Catholic creed of social justice. All those principles, we live by them. So in terms of having that, we can't even decide to have card-bearing members because we believe every Zambian is PF. So we've got a special purpose vehicle we are using in the Tothe Alliance, which is NCP. Whether UPND likes it or not, if they want to say they are going to keep PF and all that, they don't want to give us a status, we'll go with NCP. So it's going to be Patriotic Front NCP, Tothe Alliance. And we shall unseat them. Then they need to know whether they like it or not. They are going. This bad leadership they are showing us, the corruption that is there. In a corruption here, so we said PF there was a lot of corruption, but compared to the amount of corruption I'm seeing today, it is beyond anything that I've ever witnessed. But I'll tell you, colleagues, I'm sure when you just look me up, go and search for Mukandila Celestin on the social media, you will see that I'm a different breed. One will decide to fight corruption at any time. Because even the time, you don't believe that even the time that we were in the ruling, in PF, if you remember very well, there were those youths who decided to take...
So before sorry for interrupting you. Before mwasiriza council muzi wa wai boda na kunsaniyo na kuponya your question council palinkani ya signature because once Zambian wao na vile vichitika this time around palinkani ya nani kana ya makotsi naponyela your question dala mwavela because why naponyela your question because inanima ikonga maningi nani kana ngani ya politics because ma politician imwe muzakwanisa kuona mungakwanisa kushuka Zambia. Look what happened to Kabushi. Look what happened to Kabushi. Look what happened to Kwacha. Because why? That's why mwana na bwera huko. Kapena jamaa wana kamba Chabinga niyazoona ti judge afunika kutia. Wapase ni wadi ma judges. So to present hey, serious really. Look me. Langano Kabushi constituency. Kabushi constituency wako hapo injunction pale ma election ya Kabushi na Kwacha. So ati si afunika kuenda on. Court ina ruling at my election imikani. But kaiswana mbele, my election yanaenda go on. Court inapasa mayo sampa power, or mayo sampa you are a legit president wa Patriotic Front.
Yeah.
On ma changes na manje parliament yakatiba kuchitika, but pamene wenzeli kusebenzesa wana pasa mayo sampa just certificates ku register of society. Mayo sampa anachinja vintu mu seconds ku parliament kuja. O Chabinga ngalapa iwe ngalapa vinachitika but mayo sampa I win a case ku court yaenda ku parliament until today nothing has been changed. No wonder wasasola munga tikapena abantu sibaona tiona so kufunza ni council na funza deliberate so ati wameneswa makonka bali papani ho azivana vichitika kwa court acha ni zina chabe ni letters COURT court but wameneswa vichitika kuja sibameneswa kuchitika cause judgment chekula signature ni ma seconds che basiriza tien emdani so amene ma politician amene mu control amene baje abantu amene bali ku courts. You are making a very big mistake. Mutu unaongera ziko Zambia si yanu chemweka ma politician ni Zambia ya muntu aliyense ana national registration card ya green. So yambani kuchita vitu right.
Yeah.
Nothing ati watakafa tikaone futi drama inangwiza kamba kuchitika kucha ku court takana tapapata wasiye ni majudges basebenzera mwana wafunga kusebenzera ivyo ngani yo jesa takana
okay, thank you.
You want to buy justice.
Well, council, there's a question in the comment section. Somebody is asking why Chabinga was declared president for PF and he's restricting the Central Committee members. From what I've gathered, even on the ground, many people are asking questions about the Patriotic Front because according to Zambians, there's only two political parties in Zambia. It's UPND and PF. But we are sympathizers of the Zambian people on this platform. But again, we're looking for a vehicle that we can use in order to get rid of President Hakainde Hichilema and his regime. Many of us are disappointed. That is why you hear Amaru is speaking the way he's speaking, because we just want the best to come out and for the best results to come out. And we know that HH knows he's losing, and that's why he's holding on to PF like a child who has never had a toy before in his life, and then suddenly has a toy in his hand. That's how he's controlling the Patriotism Front. So how can we deal with this matter? And then you write down that question. Then I don't know if Chimwemwe has a question and Queen Mpumi, and we'll fight before we can proceed. But Chimwemwe, do you have a question, please? Chimwemwe?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Good evening. My question would be, I've heard about NCP. It was shocking to hear that I heard about it yesterday, first time. And I heard it from the interview that the SG did. I've never heard about it. So it's something I don't know. And if I was working in Zambia today, I see NCP, I would never even look there because I don't know it. I've never heard about it. Maybe it's popular. I have no idea. So my question is, what is the criteria that you are using in choosing a vehicle that you want to use? Because it's not just about having a vehicle. We need a vehicle that can be sold to the Zambian people, that can be seen as the right vehicle. Yeah, we need people to put down their egos and see that what we want is to liberate our country and not something for a human being. We don't want to be so selfish. So my question would be, what criteria are you using, or are you just getting anything? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. I think I'll start with the second question, and then we'll go back to the Chavinga question. Only I can start with the Chavinga question. Of course, with the issue of the Chavinga question, remember at the end of the day, we're dealing with a situation that was commenced as an illegality, there was an illegality on the part of even the convention that was held by Honorable Mao Sam. But unfortunately, we're dealing with a government that was hell bent at ensuring that they annihilate opposition political parties. So they tolerated a lot of, for lack of a better term, a lot of nonsense that transpired in the process of coming up with that convention, to the extent that for the first time in the history of Zambia, we saw fingerprints being lifted and approved on a holiday which is Independence Day. But alas, we can simply prove that there's a lot of injustice, there's a lot of selective justice, there's a lot of illegality and lawlessness in this government. So, with the Chavinga issue, it is just a matter of time. Very soon, we are waiting for that court to grant us that consent. But of course, any day has got its... do they say any dog has got its day? So we will wait to see what happens. By now, we would have expected that, for example, Chavinga will be behind bars and charged with offenses such as treason or espionage or even conspiracy to commit terrorism in another country or in a foreign country. But what we are seeing is this government not doing anything about it. Simply put, any reasonable person would suggest that this government is shielding criminality that has been committed by such colleagues. And that is why I think I second what people say that Kasongo must go. Now, going to the issue of the criteria that was used to come up with NCP. Now, remember, the Tonse Alliance is an alliance of different political parties. It is an alliance of different civil society organizations. It is an alliance of different organizations, student movements. It is an alliance of the Zambian people. We decided to come up with this alliance. Now, in this alliance, we agreed that the parties that are party to this alliance, for them to be admitted as part of the alliance, what we did is we introduced a document that we called a working document, which is the Constitution of the Alliance, where a party would sign in the alliance and become part of the alliance, which is the Tonse Alliance. Now, remember, Tonse Alliance is not a registered body, it is a movement, which was solely centered around ensuring that all opposition political parties come together, responding to the call from Dr. Edgar Lungu when he came back into active politics to say, let's come and work together and save our country from this regime. Let's save our country from the autocratic tendencies of this regime. So, in responding to that, many political parties joined, including FDD, including NCP, including UBZ, including PEP, EFF, and all other political parties that are into this alliance. So now what happened is, in the process, the alliance sat down, debated, and agreed that, listen, colleagues, we do not have the Patriotic Front status. And of course, we are the Edgar Chagwa Lungu Patriotic Front political movement. So, we do not have the PF party status. What do? We need to start participating in elections. We need to start ensuring that our presence is never short of the glory. So we agreed in the alliance that we shall use a special purpose vehicle. Now, this special purpose vehicle that we chose was a political party that is called New Congress Party. That this is the special purpose vehicle we'll use as the alliance, all of us, to field in candidates. Now, we even decided to indicate that the presidential candidates for 2026, that shall be on the NCP ticket, will be President Edgar Lungu. The presidential candidate for the Tonse Alliance will be Edgar Lungu. And we agreed that since it's going to be Edgar Lungu, and we've agreed that the special purpose vehicle we'll use is NCP. That is why you've been seeing that the Patriotic Front and its alliance partners have been fielding in the candidates using the New Congress Party. And it has proved that the New Congress Party is being seen as the reincarnate of the Patriotic Front political movement, the Edgar Lungu political movement, as well as the Zambian People's Tonse Alliance political movement. So it is being seen as such, and that is why the performance of the New Congress Party, having the backing of the Patriotic Front, having the backing of other political players in the alliance, has been extremely good. The people have actually accepted to transition to using the New Congress Party as the special purpose vehicle with the backing of the anchor party in the Tonse Alliance, which is the Patriotic Front, and the backing of every well-meaning Zambian. So, you see, we are wearing to the fact, we are alive to the fact that the Zambian people are eager to change government. But we want to assure the Zambian people that they need to take keen interest in understanding that the biggest opposition alliance in Zambia, which is the Tonse Alliance, has come to offer itself as the alternative for the Zambian people. Now, let's be reminded that in the Tonse Alliance, we have different political parties, of course, with the Patriotic Front as the anchor party, but the structures of the alliance, for example, entail that the alliance will take center stage going forward. We agree on matters in the alliance. So, we've got the Patriotic Front, which is the anchor party on one end, deciding in their central committee, but what is decided there should equally be brought into the Tonse Alliance Council of Leaders, and we agree on that basis. So it's extremely important for us to know that is how we've structured this. That is what we've written with Dr. Edgar Lungu, that will ensure that whether they keep PF or not, we shall still give the Zambian people an alternative leadership. And that alternative leadership is that of the Tonse Alliance. So today, when you see Celestin Mukandila talking. I am talking as Tonse Alliance National Youth Chairman. Now, I am the National Youth Chairman for the whole country, for all political parties that are in the Tonse Alliance. So, I am the National Chairman for the National Chairman in PF. I am the National Chairman for the National Chairman in NCP. And so that is what we have brought to the Zambian people now. Now, the other thing we intended to ensure that we bring to the Zambian people is a proper rebranded image of what politics ought to be going forward. It should not be politics as usual. That is why when you look at it in the appointments that Dr. Lungu made, it is different from the ordinary, the daily routine of doing things. This National Youth Chairman you are seeing is different from wanted to bring a new breed of leadership, a leadership that will give a direction, so that if the youths speak today and Mukandila is at the helm of it, you will know that what the youths are saying is going to be legally correct. What the youths are saying is going to be revolutionary correct. And it is equally going to be correct in the sense of ensuring that we are extremely patriotic. So I hope I have answered on the part of the criteria that was used.
Thank you so much. I'll just hold you there for a bit so that we can allow a question from Fight for Theology.
Sister Lily.
1 minute.
Kairi ona ma ife wena mtakamba ko papani so kairi wantu ambili wanafuna kukwera so munga mwana kambira ko ene ungamchope waleta kwa mbo uche wa mshika cheso tukati audience ambili washite bwanje wakambeko ngeba nazo kuka kamba because naona wambili munani kali mu message bali wanafuna kukwera
Okay, no problem, Amal. At least things are tired. Why want to stop?
Okay, no problem. Okay,
come. All right, thank you so much. Fight, are you ready to ask a question? Kuliwa Celestin, mtuwewe kumletu mafoni, mulande kumchumemba. Sasa wale umfechumemba na wena mwofwe kubeka teko ni program mino kano pale ila mtambo TikTok. After was something I'm going to put together the message because we know that social media is the only tool we have. I'm a campaign to try
Thank you, Lillian. Nevo JPC in Tuntu. Of course, I'm appearing there as Fight for the Family. I must commend our dear council for the good submission, especially pertaining to land. And I think the issues of title, interest, of course, whichever council, it's just a very short question regarding that issue. What's the way forward? I know that to Aliluish Bill 7 through the Constitutional Court, Bill 13, what's the direction? Direction is Shtuala taking so that he ever stopped. Because I know I've listened to you, I've listened to Jerry, then Nariverengana BY, I had an interest, so I read through it. In my view, Narimona, it looks like a criminal bill to tell the truth. But then how do we stop it? Because the government so are we going to take the direction of the Constitutional Court? Then with regards to the Tonse Alliance, of course, I'm not very much politically inclined in terms of being partisan. Interest and more on the nation. But I'm very much interested in the direction the Tonse Alliance legislature take, especially that democracy is under threat. Looking at the activity of UPND in attempting to destroy PF. Number 40, I've noticed that more PF and the Tonse Alliance, cracks Ranch Tawari, especially as an independent observer. And recently, Narimona Goma sentiments, where there was this sentiment referred to KBF, then somebody saying KBF is not part of Tonse Alliance. Then Peter Chanda, who is actually the actual founder of Congress Party, Party Muvomfia for now, was seen with KBF and all that. So, which is sending a bad signal to the people. Like Tonse Alliance, it is already looking disintegrated, even before people can trust it. Thank you, Council.
Okay, thank you very much. So, when I address the issue of...
I'm actually talking from Dorset, England. Which London I should say where I'm talking from. I'm based in Dorset, England. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. No, thank you very much for JPC and Tuntu. Yeah, so with regards to the direction we're going to be taking on Bill 13, of course, currently the Parliamentary Committee on Lands and Deeds is hearing submissions from different parties to try and understand exactly what the sentiments of the Zambian people are. I hope and trust that the committee will write their recommendation indicating the fact that the Zambian people, in the strongest term, have rejected the amendment bill number 13 because it does not speak to the aspiration and just the spirit of the Constitution and just the aspiration of fairness. It is a very dangerous bill that deals with empowering one individual to have power over a lifeline or a bloodline or an inheritance of an individual or a Zambian citizen. So I think we trust that this parliamentary committee will write its report to the Speaker, and the Speaker's recommendation will be that the bill be withdrawn because it doesn't speak to what the Zambian people want. In an event where they decide not to withdraw this bill, of course we still have a lot of legal ways in which we can stop this bill from proceeding. Or even if, the law has tested the part where you can't stop the National Assembly from enacting. But when the National Assembly decides to enact, I think the commencement date of an act can be stopped. And that is another point where we can take this matter to court. I mean, we were privileged to have been taken to law school by the Zambian people. And I think we shouldn't sit and let the knowledge that has been given to us by the Zambian people just go to waste. We'll be able to test the law and ensure that we try and stop or stay the commencement date of that act if government will decide to proceed with enacting it. Now, the other question was with regards to the apparent cracks that may be seen happening in the Tonse or PF. Now, you see, it's extremely important to understand that anything that is extremely attractive and beautiful will always have people who will learn. But what I can assure you is from our end as Tonse Alliance, we remain resilient to ensuring that we live by the legacy of Dr. Lungu of unity of purpose. And you will see every home, it's possible for a home to have a disagreement here and there. But the reality is that we are going to see a Tonse Alliance and a patriotic front that will grow to be extremely strong. And because we have decided to put the will of the Zambian people before our own personal wishes, I think we'll be able to see a very strong and united Tonse Alliance and patriotic front, because we believe that it is what we are doing is not for ourselves. What we are doing as the Tonse Alliance, we are doing whatever we're doing for the Zambian people. So we have told ourselves that when cracks will crack, when Kainga would want to even take whips, take us to jail, prison. We shall accept to do so for the Zambian people. I think going forward, you've seen the level of sacrifice that the former chairman put into this thing, to the extent that he lost his life fighting for the Zambian people, and would not want to betray the trust that he entrusted. He placed on individuals like myself. I don't think personally I would want to betray the trust that Dr. Lungu placed in me to manage youth affairs. Knowing very well that that election in next year's election is solely going to be for the youths. We hold the mantle. We hold what is supposed to be done next year. If we don't remain patriotic, then it means we are selling ourselves. But I'll tell you, comrades, colleagues, at least I can assure you, as a matter of fact, and give comfort to a lot of you, that some of us cannot be bought. At least we've been privileged not to be men of straw. At least we've managed to been exposed. So I don't think we can be bought by anyone. So that is an assurance we are giving. And of course, further to this, it's extremely important to know that the level of patriotism we have and what we agreed with Dr. Lungu is that we shall ensure that we do things for the Zambian people going forward. It must be for the Zambian people. That is why we are putting our heads on the chopping board every day, speaking against the news of Dr. Hakainde today and his bad management. It is because we believe we must do things for the Zambian people. Imagine today, we should go and beg.
Sorry, Council, he's not doctor. He doesn't even deserve to be called doctor. Thank you.
Thank you for the correction, Madam Lily. So this individual, imagine today, under his leadership, we should go and beg. And we need to, we should go and beg for $1.4 billion, $1.3 billion from the IMF. What is it going to do to us? Why should we continue to impoverish ourselves in this manner? We are a rich and wealthy nation. We are extremely wealthy. Imagine with the gold rush that we had in Mfumbwe, an amount of over $5 million was being spent to purchase material, that is gold from Mfumbwe. Every day, 5 million. Now, you are telling me that with that amount being spent, and by the way, the numbers I'm giving you, these are numbers that are legit. $5 million was being spent to buy gold from Mfumbwe. Over 40 kg of gold was being bought from Mfumbwe every day. You are telling me that we can fail to raise $1.4 billion with the amount of suji like we have in this country. Now, the criminality of this regime has reached the areas where, today as we are talking, imagine the area that has got the source of suji light in Chief Magumba's area, today as we are talking. These criminals have decided to issue a mining license to a company without getting the consent of the chief. Where have we gotten to? The law is extremely clear as to what it means to even obtain what we call an environmental impact assessment. Today they've issued licenses without obtaining the relevant consents from the chiefs, the custodians of our lands. All of us are in town today, but we know to say when things get tough, we'll still go back to our chiefs and beg to say, Kanabesa, now imagine these guys have reached levels. And I think that is why they even want to amend this act. It's because they want to wield power. They want to wield power. So that they should be able to even grab land that is given to us by our traditional leaders. But this is not right. I think to Kadipa, we can't decide. We are celebrating a deferment of a date. At no date restructuring, and we should go and celebrate. Angry Lion. I think we need to have a heart for the country. When you defy a bill, when you restructure a debt, it simply means that what has happened, for example, we've moved this debt in Congolese to allow me to know, let's pay, let our children pay in short. If we want to enjoy, how selfish can these individuals be? They're extremely selfish. And I think we should not allow such a thing to happen in this country. I think we've tolerated this quite far enough. Next year, the only choice we have now next year is to ensure that we don't vote in individuals that are extremely selfish like this person in this office today. People who lack integrity like this person in this office today. People who are not patriotic. You can't think that it is only Bazungu that can run our minds. Today we've got you colleagues, we've exported human resource into the diaspora right now. Because you people feel you cannot come back because the environment is not okay. But imagine having a government that thinks of importing the very human resource we exported. We say, Lillian, you've acquired the skill, you've acquired the trade in the UK, in the US. I want you to come back and run this resource. Wouldn't that be beautiful? But why should we always want to say we are just looking at FDI, foreign direct investment? You don't always need foreign direct investment. I'll give an example. By the way, the example I'll be giving is amongst the things that you will be able to see in the manifesto of the Tonse Alliance as it comes. Imagine a resource. I'll just give one area of the economy that will be able to be changed, turned around. You know, Kayinde was telling us what he shall do, but he has failed to show us the how he's going to do what he was promising. But what we'll give you is the how. We'll tell you what we'll do and how we'll do it. Did you know that today we have got 7.2 million unemployed people? 7.2. These statistics came from the Minister of Finance. But did you know that in 2 years we can actually manage, 2 to 4 years, we can actually manage to employ about 5 million people with a resource that is called Zafico. Now, let me explain to you how that can be done. Zafico has got 100,000 hectares of land. I've seen Mr. Banda there. I think he's the spokesperson of the Timber Association of Zambia. He's going to be able to explain or verify what I'm saying. Zafico has got 100,000 hectares of land in this country. Now, with 100,000 hectares of land, there is what we call capital investments that will move by way of ensuring that from the 100,000 hectares of land, we can say we come up with 50 million beehives. Now, this is a resource in agriculture and forestry. 50 million beehives. Now, how do we come up with 50 million beehives? Of course, in the first 2 years, we can't come up with the entire 50 million. It's possible, although, to come up with at least 25 million. How? We've got ZNS resource, we've got the Zambian people through Zambia Army, we've got the Zambian people through Zambia Police, and we can engage more people to ensure that we use a resource called NAPSA to fund a project that will be able to build beehives. Now, did you know that a beehive gives about 200 kg of honey? And when you look at the market value of honey today, it's extremely expensive. Now, and tell you that beehives can be taken care of by one individual. Now, one individual, when you divide that 50 million beehives that we're looking at, divide by 10, you are looking at something like 5 million people that you can employ. And these are real numbers we are talking about. 5 million people. Now, if you're going to bring in 5 million people, it simply means that you have 5 million SIM cards. Because these people will need to communicate. It means you will have 5 million loaves of bread that you may be selling every day. It means that you will have 5 million loaves that will be bought from bakeries. It means you will have 5 million bags of mini meal that will be bought. Just that resource called Zafico. And the process of just coming up with these beehives. You put that resource, 1.5 million, in 2-3 years, that can be employed. Now imagine that itself, that money that you produce, you'll one, export, two, you'll create industry, value addition in that honey. This is the how we are going to do it. The value addition process will equally create employment. Now the value addition would include that you value add the remedy, the sub or the byproducts of the honey. Those byproducts can be used to make cosmetics, soaps. Our colleagues, when Mili Beauty, all of them will create employment from this product. Employment will be created for the youths. Now imagine we've got a resource such as Zafico, and we've got a government that doesn't want to listen, that just thinks of themselves. Don't you think in 2 years, 3 years that we are talking about, we can manage to turn around this economy with that? Now the reality is, today we've got 7.2 million people that are not employed. The reality is that from this 7.2, we expect that 500,000 more people will be added into the unemployment base next year. Or every year we can be having 100,000 that will be unemployed. But if we don't employ such initiatives, we've got the resource. Homegrown solutions, not Muzungu. I don't even know why these people think like this. Maybe going forward in this life, we should ensure that the only people, the next person to rule this country should not be one who was born before 1964. Because those guys have got a colonial mentality, maybe. Because I don't understand why this leader has decided to just think it's only a foreigner that can improve our economy. So what I've told you today as Zambian colleagues or colleagues in the diaspora and within is a solution-based proposal that Zafico with 100 hectares of land, we can use it to come up with beehives, 50 million beehives. In the first 3-4 years, we can come up with 2.5, or which is half of that, 25 million beehives. 25 million, 2.5 million people can be employed. And we sprayed it like that. Imagine that can be done. And now the problem is, this can only be done if we've got a selfless leadership, a patriotic leadership. It should not be business as usual. Now, going forward, another example is where, imagine these people that they are calling illegal miners. We decide as a country that, you know what, colleagues, you understand the mineral code got. We are not going to kill you the way this government has killed you. What we are going to do is provide an incentive. We incentivize this same resource that you have discovered. How are we going to do it? We've got ZNS, we've got the Ministry of Mines, we've got experts in mines. Now, we'll create a vehicle that will allow these small-scale miners, to continue their mining as artisanal miners. However, we ensure that we provide an environment of safety around the area. So safety will now include where we are now telling ourselves to say, colleagues, what we need going forward is to ensure that we grow our gold reserves. When we grow our gold reserves in this country, what will happen now is our debt will be guaranteed by our gold. Our currency will be backed by our gold. It means we can determine the exchange rate going forward. Imagine Dubai today, which is the UAE, has had an exchange rate of 3.55 dirhams against $1 for the last 30 years. Why don't we do that? It's because we don't have a selfless leadership which wants to empower locals. Money that is given to the small-scale miners those same artisanal miners, those same guys that they are calling illegal miners, if we can ensure that we incentivize them, whatever material, whatever gold they are finding, we tell them to say, you will not sell to a foreigner. You will sell to the Zambian people. We already started a vehicle called Zambia Gold under PF. That Zambia Gold was meant to ensure that we grow our gold reserves. And you know, I will tell you this, colleagues, countrymen and women, these so-called multinationals, the global world out there, they don't want us to grow our gold reserves. That is why they always want to get rid of leaders that want to grow their gold reserves in Africa. Look at how many attempts have been placed on Traore today. Look at what they did to Muammar Gaddafi. Look at what they wanted to do to Mnangagwa because of the gold reserves we were raising. But what we need to do is a selfless leadership. We allow these artisanal miners to mine. We provide a resource to purchase from them directly and ensure that they have the money. Now, when you purchase from them, that money remains in the country. That money remains in the country. But if you are going to behave like Kasongo today, you decide that every mine you give to a foreigner. The foreigner will come in here, their dividends, their profits will be externalized. So if you expect this foreigner makes $5 billion in profit on an annual basis, the only money they will bring back into recapitalizing their resource, their mine, is about $1 billion. The rest of the $4 billion will leave the country. It means we are losing out on forex. But this thing should not be allowed going forward. We have learned from the experience. We needed to move away from the mentality of colonial masters. We needed to ensure going forward, colleagues, what I've told you are just two examples of what we shall do as we form government next year. We will not allow this issue of, and you see, whether we like it or not, nationalizing of government resources, of these resources, is actually the way to go. I don't think it's right that we should be allowing, going forward, a foreign investor owning more than 60% shareholding in a mine. I don't think it is right. We should be able to retain something. Now, imagine, today we've got a resource that is called ZCCM-IH, yeah? Which is an investment body that we have as Zambia. Imagine ZCCM-IH will own shares in companies like Mopani, in companies like whatever, these mines, the big mines that we have. Now, imagine we said the dividend, yeah, that you give us, instead of giving us the dividend in terms of monetary reform, we want you to not give us the money. Give us the actual mineral value that we have. Now, what is that going to mean? It will mean that going forward, we are going to say we are now growing our reserves in copper. Did you know that today as we are talking, Zambia doesn't even have 1 ton of copper, and yet we brag to be the highest exporter of copper in the world, the second highest exporter of copper. We are the largest exporter of emeralds in this country, but we don't even have 1 gram of emerald in our reserves. Now imagine we no longer get the millions that we get from these mines that we've got shares in as ZCCM. We tell them to say, going forward, we shall not liquidate the cash. We will not get the cash, we'll get the minerals equivalent to that. Imagine just how much resource we'll have, a resource base. What we'll call that for a rainy day, we can say our currency is going to be backed up by the resources, the minerals that we have. I don't think Kwacha should be performing poorly as this. And all this is because we have a selfish leadership. For me, I actually say, going forward, next year, countrymen and women, not to not People who have not understood, people who've never held real money in their lives, and they think because of that, the moment they have an opportunity about penny, you have to steal. You have to have every deal in the country for Avamo. That is not right. Did you know that? And you see, it really hurts me. But really, I want you people to develop the kind of pain that I have. Every day I see wrong things happening in this country. What drives me every day is that, did you know that once you are president of Zambia, it simply means that you'll never suffer in your life. You've heard today, this government is saying, no, withholding benefits, shani, all that nonsense. Did you know that once you are president today in Zambia, you'll never suffer because the country will take care of you. Yes. Now, why can't you decide to work for the Zambian people, to make this place a better place? I think we need to start realigning our thoughts. Very important. Yeah. Because the reality is, the only reason why some of us have gone to work, all of you, the only reason why you go to work, you toil a lot, is because of one thing. It is just to put food on the table. Oh, yes. Because you can have $10 million today in your account. If you don't eat, you die. It is because of food. Our ancestors would go, our grandparents would go into the bush to just go and find food. But now, imagine you are a president, you are an ambassador, you will forever have a bag of mini meal. Yeah. Why can't you wait for the Zambian people? What people say, patriotism? Why can't a Zambian president, you are given an opportunity to be an ambassador to grow this economy? You decide to be selfish, you decide to think it is foreign, FDI, foreign direct investment, that can only give solutions to this country. When you've got homegrown solutions, we've got people, resources. This gentleman I'm seeing here, Mr. Banda Wilson, you know, he's a resource that has understood mining in this country, has understood forestry in this country. Imagine you give this gentleman in charge of forestry, someone who understands the business, someone who understands that for Mukula to move, we need this and that. The value of that resource. Now, in Zambia, mwalikwata sujilite, mwalikwata gold, mwalikwata copper, mwalikwata emeralds, you've got uranium, you've got lithium, all these things we have in Zambia. And yet we still want to borrow 1.4 billion. Colleagues, I want you to feel bad. We need